If you're watching this video, you probably love cruising, or at least you want to take one, but soaring high prices due to soaring demand might be turning you off. But what if I told you there's a way you can actually take a cruise without paying full price? In fact, if you know how to do things right, you could even cruise for free. If you're like me and you want to ball on a budget, which is a nice way of saying you're cheap AF, I'm sure that sounds pretty compelling. And I'm here to show you my real proven strategies that actually work to help you score cheap or even free cruises. So today I'm pulling back the curtain on the best kept secrets in getting a good deal on a cruise. So let's get started. One way to save on a cruise is with last minute cruises. This is one of the easiest ways to save big on a cruise. Cruise lines hate sailing with empty cabins because it's wasted opportunity. Cruise lines sometimes, actually, believe it or not, don't make much money, if any, on the cruise fare because of the all-inclusive nature of cruising, but they make money by people in those cabins spending money on ancillary products like drink packages, photos, and the casino and other things. So as the departure date gets closer, cruise lines get a little more desperate to fill those empty rooms, and they start slashing prices to fill those spots. I've personally seen prices drop to under $50 per night, sometimes even lower. And on casino offers, which we'll talk about later, you can even get it for free. But there's a catch. You have to be flexible with your dates and destinations. You have to be able on short notice to get to a departure port if you don't live in a departure port city. So you have to have that flexibility. Now, the best time to find last minute cruise deals is about 30 to 60 days, if not shorter, before departure. Fun fact, I've actually taken a cruise before when I got a last minute free casino deal with less than 24 hours notice. And I live in the Midwest and I had to fly to New Orleans, but I made it happen and it was great. So why is this 30 to 60 day the prime time to find a last minute deal? Well, that's when those final payments are due for people that already booked the cruise further out. And that's the time when passengers, if they're gonna cancel, they're probably gonna cancel. And when they cancel, their cabins get released back into inventory. And usually at that point, because the cruise date is so close, it's at deeply discounted rates. If you have the ability to drive to a departure port, you'll have an even bigger advantage because last minute flights can be expensive, and that sometimes will eat up or cancel out the savings on a cheap last minute cruise. But if you're within driving distance, you can jump on these deals without having to worry about airfare. Now, the best way to find last minute cruises is by checking the cruise line websites under their special offers section. Some cruise lines, like Holland America Line, actually have a newer standby program that you can find on their website. You can also browse third-party cruise deal sites or work with a travel agent. Shameless plug, I am one. I'll drop the link below. And your travel agent will help you keep an eye on these things and get you access to these exclusive fares. Now, full disclosure, these are absolutely still a way that you can find to save on a cruise. But cruise demand is wild right now. It has been for the last couple years as we rebound post-2020, and forecasts for next year show continuing boom in the cruise industry. So these are harder to find now than they were in the past, but they are still out there if you know what to do and how to look for them. Another great way to save big on a cruise is by taking a repositioning cruise. If you have a flexible schedule, repositioning cruises can be one of the cheapest ways to take a really cool cruise. What a repositioning cruise is it happens when cruise lines move their ships from one region of the world to another. For example, a cruise line might run Alaskan cruises during certain times of the year. Then they stop their Alaskan cruises and they start running Caribbean cruises. So they need that ship to get from Alaska down to the Caribbean. And it's stupid for them to sail an empty ship when they could sell those rooms to paying customers. Because these cruises don't follow a typical round trip itinerary and they're unique, they're harder for most travelers to book and they're harder for cruise lines to fill. So therefore, you're gonna find some of the best deals and some of the lowest prices on these repositioning cruises. I've personally seen 16-night transatlantic cruises, say from Europe to the United States, usually Florida, for under $500, which is less than $35 per night, which is crazy. I've also found Panama Canal sailings that cost half of what a regular Caribbean cruise would because it's a repositioning sailing. Now, the downside to repositioning cruises is they usually have a lot of sea days, which is a good thing if you like sea days, but you'll also need to book a one-way flight home. I've scoped out a lot of transatlantics from Europe to Florida, and a one-way flight for me to somewhere like Barcelona ends up being pretty expensive, which is why for me, I haven't found it to be a good deal. But if you have insider availability or you can snag a good one-way international flight that aligns with a repositioning cruise, these cruises can be an insanely good deal. Now, the best time to book a repositioning cruise is in the spring and fall. That's when ships usually move between summer and winter cruising regions. So if you want to see multiple destinations for a fraction of the cost and or you like a lot of sea days, That's the way to do it. All right, let's talk about one of my favorite cruise hacks. This is the secret to getting free cruises, and it is to leverage casino loyalty programs to get free cruises. Almost all the major cruise lines, except for Disney, have casinos. And in those casinos, they have casino rewards programs. And that means if you gamble in one of their onboard casinos, you could earn a free cruise. And here's the thing, you don't have to be a high roller to qualify. Every time you gamble, as long as you're making sure your gambling is tracked, the cruise line is going to track your total bets, not just what you lose, and calculate what's called coin-in value. Even if you start with a nominal amount, like $100 or $200, as long as you keep playing, assuming you're having some luck and you're cycling money through the machine, your total coin-in value and your points earned are going to be higher. And that's what the cruise line is going to be looking at, among other things. Now, slot players tend to get better comps than table players because the system is going to automatically track every single bet you make at a slot machine. Always, though, make sure you have your stateroom card inserted in that machine, or if you're cruising with something like Princess or Virgin that has a fob, you're scanning in your fob. Table game players rely on manual ratings from casino hosts, and unfortunately, those are not always accurate. But if you play in the casino, you're making sure your points and your spending is being tracked, you can possibly get a significantly reduced or free cruise. Now, this is a really complicated process, and there's some smart ways that you can actually leverage it and take offers from one cruise line and get other cruise lines to match it. You can also gamble on an on-ground or land casino and leverage that through a company called Your Compt. I'll give you that link. They'll match those casino offers. But for all the ins and outs about how to parlay casino spending into free and reduced price cruising, I encourage you to check out my video. I spend a long time going into all the ins and outs and details. And I also encourage that if you go this path, that you know what you're doing and that you are disciplined. Because spending in a casino is honestly pretty stupid. I hate casinos. I never went to casinos before I started cruising. But once I figured out that I could play in the casino and spend less money in the casino than I spend on cruises, and that I get free cruises and I cruise basically monthly, I was hooked. But you gotta make sure it doesn't get out of hand. Also note that your free casino cruises, you are still going to incur port fees and taxes. That's usually several $100s or more depending on the itinerary. So make sure you do your homework before you get into this. But if you're willing to put in the time, watch my video. It's a really great way to cruise really cheaply, or even like me, cruise for free. Another great way to save on a cruise is to sail in the off season. If you're flexible about when you cruise, you could save hundreds of dollars just by looking in the off season. Every destination has a low season or off season when prices drop due to lower demand, and it's going to vary depending on the region. For the Caribbean, the cheapest time to sail in the off season is late August to early November, which is hurricane season, but it's still safe. I've literally sailed in and around hurricanes, and it was shockingly uneventful. And also, if you avoid cruising in hurricane season as a whole is very, very long. So you're gonna miss out on cruising more than half the year if you try to dodge hurricane season. But late August, early November, that's kind of the sweet spot for Caribbean sailings to get the best bang for your buck. If you're looking at an Alaskan itinerary, the best deals are usually going to be in May and September at the very beginning and end of that Alaskan sailing season. If you want to visit Europe, the off-season runs from October to March when all the summer tourists are gone. And the upside of that is many European destinations get really hot and overcrowded in the summer, so sailing in the off-season when it comes to European itineraries can not only save you a lot of money, but it can help you have a more pleasurable experience. Now, here's an unconventional way to save on a cruise, and that is to become a travel agent. I became a travel agent not to book other people, but to save on my own cruises and by earning commission on my own bookings. And this is one of the most overlooked ways to cruise for a discount, or sometimes in limited situations, for free. Now, becoming a travel agent doesn't mean you necessarily have to start a full-blown business. You also don't have to book other people. I started just booking myself. But if you love cruising or you love travel, you travel often, again, I cruise at least once a month, getting certified as a travel agent can give you access to exclusive perks. This can include things like access to what are called FAM trips, or familiarization trips. This is where suppliers, and these are things like hotels or all-inclusives, will offer free or discounted trips for travel agents to woo you in, to experience a destination or a location, to impress you, so then you go back and sell it to your clients. Now, FAMs are more for land-based things like hotels and all-inclusives. When it comes to cruises, the way the cruise lines woo and wine and dine travel agents is through ship inspections. You'll usually fly to a departure port on your own dime. They'll invite you onto the ship. You have to RSVP, but it's free. They wine you, they dine you for free. You learn all about that ship, all about that cruise line. They want to put on a good impression for you. And it's a really cool inside baseball look at cruising. You also have access to private travel agent rates that are significantly lower in some cases than public pricing. Some cruise lines like Royal Caribbean will sometimes even offer friends and family rates for friends and family of travel agents. You also have commission-based perks. So for me, again, the reason I became a travel agent was to earn a commission on my own cruise bookings. And in most cases, even when I cruise free on a casino offer, which is how I cruise, I still earn a commission. It's a small commission, but it's still a commission that helps me pay for those port fees and taxes, which are not free. And some cruise lines will also offer free cruises as a benefit for travel agents that complete a comprehensive training program to learn about that cruise line. I earned a free sailing with Princess Cruises. I haven't yet had a chance to take it because I completed their online training program. And in my case, I became a travel agent because I work with a host agency and that's only $30 a month. There's no quotas, there's no pressure. If I don't take a cruise that month or I don't book anything, nobody cares. And what I pay for my monthly hosting fee is less than I'm earning in commissions on my own trips. Plus, it's really cool to get all the inside information about cruising because I love cruising. And when I book my own itineraries, I get more insight into things like the deck plan, rooms that are available, promotional offers, and things like that. So it's a win-win, at least for me. But if you're interested in becoming a travel agent to book your own travel to save on cruises, I have an entire video about it. It gets pretty complex, but I try to answer all your questions for you in a video you can find here. And I also have a webpage about it, which I'll link down in the description. So scoring a cheap cruise or even a free cruise, it's difficult sometimes because again, cruising demand is wild, but it's possible. Whether it's booking last minute deals, taking advantage of the casino programs, which is my thing, cruising in the off season, or becoming a travel agent, there are some ways to save. But I wanna know, what am I missing? What are some other ways that you have found to save on cruising? Drop your comments down below and be sure to like and subscribe. And as always, visit my website, profmelissa.com, for all kinds of free cruise information, including free port guides.